Hello and welcome to the Walking Dead After Show on the Stream.tv. My name is Malynda Hale and I'm your host for the evening. I am joined by my wonderful co-hosts. Starting to my left here we have...
David Fichtenmayer. Nice to see you guys. Happy belated Halloween.
And to my right...
Hey guys, I'm Glenna Gasparian and we are not in Kansas anymore, or should I say Atlanta?
And to my far right...
Hi guys, Kegan Schell, and I am real excited to talk about our little Bethy, who seems to be growing up pretty quick.
That's true. We want to thank you so much for tuning in tonight, and if you have any other friends that are Walking Dead fans, get them to join in on the conversation by going to the Stream.tv's YouTube channel and join us right here, right now, in on the conversation. But before we dive into this episode, we want to give a huge shout out to Fansided for always sharing our shows with their network. And if you want to dive deeper into the Walking Dead world, make sure you go visit their website, undeadwalking.com, for more show updates and info. So let's dive into this episode, this crazy episode, which we thought was going to be kind of a filler episode, but then we were kind of blindsided at the end. But before we get to that, because we don't want to jump straight to the end, let's talk about this new place that they're at. We found out where Beth is, and she's in this hospital called Grady Memorial Hospital. Do we think it's going to be kind of like a new terminus? What do you guys think?
Well,
go ahead, Glenna.
Clearly they're trying to save people.
Yeah.
We just don't know what they want to use the people for, what their intentions are, really. So.
Right, and I think things are going to change up a little bit now that Beth has kind of taken out the main villain that we had to worry about at the beginning, you know.
Or is he really the main villain?
Because we have this Officer Dawn. There's something different about her. She's in charge. She's got this like resentment towards everybody there. She's slapping Beth left and right. So like she did just slapped her twice in this episode. So what do we think about that character?
I think she's going to be our female governor.
Ooh, that's an interesting
my
take.
thing.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but she's clearly hiding something. There was something about that first guy she wanted saved, and I'm not quite sure how I feel about her yet. Maybe not quite governor status, but something
along those lines.
I would say I don't think she would go as far as the governor, but I think that she clearly, from the photo, has lost someone the way the governor has.
Right.
And so there might be a lot of things behind that's going to push her to...
It's kind of like with Terminus, with Gareth, like they started out being good people, but then they ended up going into this cannibalism route. So we think it could be something kind of like that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So what do we think the goal of this hospital is? Because they're saving people, but we don't really know what exactly they're doing because there's still something evil about it. What do we think the goal is?
Well, I think ultimately she is trying to keep people alive for when this help comes. I think the problem is help's not coming.
Right.
I mean, not anytime soon anyway. So I think that's probably their overall goal, but it's maybe a little naive, a little for now.
Yeah, because it's also one of those things, they're not letting people leave, the people that don't want to be there.
Right.
They're doing them to do their labor for them, and a lot of her sexual innuendos, when she straight up said, she's like, you keep my officers happy, whatever that may be, you know, and then you got the cop who's constantly coming on to Beth. It's like, what the hell kind of place is this?
Right. Well, speaking of the creepy officer, we have all these new characters that are in the show. We had Officer Coleman, but then, you know, Beth kind of set him up to be killed. But we also have this doctor who, you know, seems like this good guy, but then this situation happens where he tells Beth to give this medicine to that one patient, but then it ends up killing him. So do we think that he's a good guy or a bad guy? I'm kind of on the fence about it.
I just thought of it. He's kind of like Eugene, where I think he knows that he's not as strong, so he'll kind of do what he can to survive.
Yeah, he's proven that he's pretty ruthless when he tells Beth to give the doctor the wrong medicine, just purely to kind of save his own hide, because I mean, this other guy's going to kind of usurp him, and he doesn't want to let that happen.
Absolutely. He wants to be the only doctor there.
As the doctor, he's got a lot of power.
Right.
They don't know what these things are that he's seeing.
Exactly. And he kind of has this timidness about him. You think that he's this good guy, but, you know, he's kind of like a silent killer in a way, you know? So I'm interested to see how those characters pan out. We also have this other character that was introduced, Noah, who was kind of like the orderly kind of, you know, he's mopping. He got picked up by by Dawn and the other officers, but then, something happened. But what do we think about his character? Do we think we're going to see more of him throughout the season?
For sure.
Yeah. I thought he was going to die. I thought he was going to be a one and done, but really? I guess not.
Usually a broken leg is kind of the kiss of death in this show.
Right,
so, I mean,
right, absolutely.
Any kind of injury.
And the thing is like Beth is just sitting there firing him off, and he's got a broken leg and he's limping right past him. They're not even touching him.
Right,
He's
right.
the easy target.
Right, so they had this whole plan. I really liked their friendship, and I was kind of bummed the way it turned out because, Beth's in this new place, and she obviously sees that something's wrong in this hospital, and so she befriends this new character. They make this plan to escape, and then lo and behold, he kind of screws her over. In a sense,
See you later. Yeah.
He pieces out and escapes. But he also he pieces out, right? Exactly. So Beth then, after they escape from the hospital, gets captured again. So what do we think is going to happen with Beth now that she's back?
Well, I mean, we already see that she was ready to fight her way out. I mean, she had those scissors and she was going right before they opened up this whole new can of worms with that end twist. But I don't know. I think Beth is becoming more and more of a fighter with every season, and I think that's only going to progress.
True.
And I can't wait to see how it plays
out. Right. Now, going back to Noah, I don't know if you guys remember this, but he was saying that originally he was searching for his uncle, and that's how he ended up at the hospital. We talked about a few theories on who we think his uncle might be, but what do you think, David?
I can't remember his name, the crazy guy.
The crazy guy.
The crazy guy that's following Rick and the band around. From the first episode, where he had, and then there's been so many episodes. Was it 3? Where they found him and he had his little fort of...
and all the zombie traps, right?
Yeah, zombie traps. And, we've seen episode 1 that he's following Rick. I don't know. Maybe that's his uncle. That'd be a great way to introduce that character back in because I'm waiting for whatever the hell's happening. You just say, hey, he's following him and then, nothing.
Right, and we haven't seen him in a while. And I love that he's the kind of have him randomly throughout. I would love if he made it to the end.
Oh my, for sure he's gonna
be,
sure.
Just looking at all the traps that he made in that season when Rick and Carl entered was hilarious. So I think it'd be cool. That's another good theory.
He's gonna end up being Rick's not even gonna be the main guy. It's gonna be him at the end. He's just gonna be I fooled all of you.
It'd be such a turn, right? If that were the case. I think that his uncle could be Gabriel, who's the pastor that the rest of the crew is all at, because we don't really know what Gabriel's story is. No. He's still very suspicious to me. He gave that whole spiel about how the "you will burn" was carved in because he locked everybody out and didn't open the doors. But I am convinced that there's more to his story. So I think it'd be cool if he was his uncle. But what were you gonna say?
The only reason why I'm leaning more towards the other guy is because they were in Atlanta, in the same kind of vicinity.
Right.
And that's where the kid was. What's Noah? That's where Noah was, and that's where the other guy was. And I don't know. I think it's all kind of good.
No, it could be connected. What do you think, Kegan?
I think I'm Aaron more towards our unnamed crazy man here.
Really?
Just because
I'm the only one that's going for Gabriel.
I will say I think there's more to be discovered with Father Gabriel.
Right.
Because the show has the tendency to take the comic storylines and make them a bit broader, expand upon them a little bit. And in the comics, his character does exactly what that backstory is that we talked about, where he locks his congregation out of his church because he's a coward. He's a giant chicken shit.
Right.
And I think in the show they've got to do more with him than just that.
Because it can't just be him locking people out and just okay, and you're this little scared person the whole time. I could see that.
Well,
So
he could totally just be that. Because you look at Rick's band of, I don't know, I want to call them mercenaries at this point. They're all badasses.
That's true.
But
that's true. You gotta have that one guy that can't do anything.
Yeah.
But I think they gave it away too early for it to be
just
the big
that
thing behind it all. That was the first episode that we saw. I mean, there have only been 2 or whatever.
Well, maybe it's going to come down to something where he's got, where Rick and one of the guys are in trouble, and he's got to do something that's not cowardly to save them. Can he not be a punk and do it? That's a big character choice.
Right.
And you can make that very dramatic.
Right.
That's fair.
Well, because right now at this point, his only purpose is really shelter, because he really hasn't served them any purpose. So maybe when it comes down to it, he's going to have to step it up. Or we know Rick; he'll get rid of him in a minute if he doesn't think that he's valuable to the group. We know how Rick is.
The Ricktator.
Right. That's exactly. So it's a good
Is that
nickname.
what they call him?
Do they call him
The
that?
Ricktatorship. Yeah, it's like that fan thing that
I've never seen. That's so funny.
Oh, maybe it's just me who is on Tumblr looking at the Walking Dead
That's
tag late at
amazing.
night.
That's a
The Rictatorship, yeah.
But hey, I think it fits absolutely. So, before this episode started, we were all kind of bummed that it was going to be just about Beth. We all kind of, collectively shared that. But I think Kegan had touched on it, that Beth has really grown a lot as a character. So we haven't seen her since, it's been a few episodes before season 5 ended that she was captured, right?
Right.
So I liked seeing just the strength in her grow in this episode. I thought it was really, really cool, even though it was about her, and I did want to see other characters because, I love Michonne. I love seeing her in every episode. And I actually really do like Rick, even though a lot of people don't at this point. But how do we feel about Beth as a character now, seeing her in like this type of situation? You're still not feeling it.
I love it. Two of my favorite characters on the show are Carol and Beth, just because I think they're real underdogs, and I think they have a lot of potential to just wow people as they grow.
Right.
Like Carol's season last season was amazing, and I'm excited to see her come together with Beth, and because this seems to be Beth's badass season. Like she's going to really come into her own, and I think the two of them together, I think people, maybe opinions will sway a little bit.
Right.
Not to quote Drake or anything, but they both started from the bottom and now
They're there.
they're here.
Right. I love it.
Let's just be real.
Right. No,
Because they both, Carol had her husband, her abusive husband.
Right.
Beth was a little girl.
She had a very big character
and-
arc, yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
They're both kind of like just pushing their way through.
Right. I loved last season when Carol, well, I guess it was last season and beginning of this season, but when she rescued everyone from Terminus, I was like, yeah. Because that wasn't what, you're like, Are you not a Carol fan?
I see, on the contrary,
Oh, come on, after that.
Beth and Carol are my least favorite characters in the entire group. Now, don't get me wrong, Carol grew on me last season, because last season was the first time we seen her when she wasn't just this whiny, depressed, and Daryl didn't have to take care of her.
Right.
So that was last season. So now it's a completely different Carol. And now she's growing on me, but, you got a lot more work to do. So, but Beth, I was excited. I thought she was gone.
She just saved everyone.
She really did, though.
Literally saved every person that we would ever care about.
She did.
You know what? Rick would have done something. He would have pulled it off.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he would have.
Nope, this is the one time.
Yeah, he would have.
Rick would have been food for the citizens of Terminus.
Rick holds his own, though. I think I'm veering on
Rick was
agreeing with
cutting
David.
them ropes. Remember when he was getting
He
ready to make his
was.
move?
Okay, true.
Yeah, somebody might have went down, but
True.
Rick was going to take some
He
people
was.
with him.
He was.
Bite out
I
a few
forgot
more
about that.
jugulars on his
Right.
way out.
But Carol really did save the day. We all have to admit that and give her the credit that
Totally.
she deserves, right? So before we get to like the big ending, which, if you're tuning in, you all know, and Glenna was freaking out at the end, do we think that Beth is going to be saved? That's the biggest thing. Do we think that she's going to get out of this hospital and be reunited with the group?
Yes.
How long do you think it's going to take?
Is however long it takes for Daryl to make that happen. Because if that's going to
nobody else.
happen,
There's
it's
nobody
going to be
else.
because of Daryl. Straight up.
Right.
That's just, and especially now they got Carol, Daryl's boo-boo. Nope.
Yeah, they do have the two people that
he
kind
likes
of, that
the
have been
most.
either the
Right.
love interests or the two closest characters to
Right,
Daryl
that
are now
are
in
the
this
closest
hospital.
to his heart, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my
Beth
God, I
and
didn't even.
Carol.
Yeah, so that's
Wow.
so now we know, at the end of the episode, Carol was brought in on the gurney. Beth recognized her. Glenna was freaking out, but I loved that it was her. But so my questions are, how did she get there? How did they find her? And where is Daryl?
All the way in the city
Well, see,
because they weren't.
remember Daryl, they went off after the car with the cross. Daryl and Carol.
Right.
So I'm guessing they found them, and they took Carol.
So then what
now
happened to
Carol's
Daryl?
there. Well, I want to know is who did Daryl bring back with him?
Yeah, that's
If
a
it wasn't
better
Carol,
question.
because now I know it's not Carol.
The kid.
So who is it?
Oh.
The kid, Noah.
I don't know. It depends if we're playing timelines here.
Yeah, it's true, because we don't know if this episode is a flashback and then Daryl ended up getting
Right.
them. We don't know.
Something else interesting to point out too is the only male that we saw as who tried to be saved are Noah and this other doctor. So it's interesting if maybe they didn't take Daryl, but they decided to take Carol. Like that could speak to the greater maybe plan behind
Well, he
whatever's
did say
happening
they were
at this
taking
hospital.
the weaker
yeah.
people
Right.
that weren't able to fight
That's
them
true.
off.
Yeah.
And now that if that's the case, they made a really big mistake taking Carol.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
she's
She looks like
yeah,
this like
right.
mature, skinny woman, but really she will blow you up.
She'll cap a small child.
She will get the explosives in a minute.
She will ruin your life.
Right. So I think you think that Noah's the one that's being.
I think it could be Noah.
I agree with that. I think that Daryl probably could have found Noah, crossing paths and then brought him back.
I think it's gonna.
And he's gonna tell them-
connect. It's all gonna
Exactly.
connect at some point.
I mean, that would, story-wise, that would make sense
Yeah.
because then Noah could tell him about the hospital.
Exactly.
And then Daryl and Rick will be like, all right, we're going to go bust in this place. So now they got the information
Right,
to
right.
go make that happen.
Okay,
I
now
agree.
that makes sense because I thought Daryl was like being held, hostage or whatever because he had such a sad look on his face. But now it's because, sorry, it was just, it was all happening in my head. Now I get it. It could totally be Noah, the kid, and he could just be really upset.
I agree.
Because
He lost
that-
Carol.
Right.
Yeah.
And he knows Beth. He knows both Beth and Carol are there.
Are there?
So.
Yeah. Well, we can't wait to find out what happens next episode. But right now, we are going to take a short commercial break, and we'll be right back with your fan questions. Thanks for tuning in.
Just in case you missed it live.
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 In case you missed it live, I'm not fake, I'm so real, okay?
Hey, who's excited?
She's a little superhero slut because she's so. I just pissed everybody off.
She's like such a glamazon.
Join the writer team because you are hot.
And I loved it.
That is like tension beyond belief. I found her to be deliciously out of control.
We were all just looked at each other, just like, ah.
So we can assume that you've written letters to inmates before.
Give me the diamonds. I need them for my wife.
Take charge and kill everyone.
This Holocaust coffin!
You were agreeing with me, so I think it was a great point. You can't count anything out.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Oh my God.
What's your shoe size? My size.
Well, that was pretty awful.
Oh my God.
Very cool.
Totally.
Welcome back to the Walking Dead After Show on the Stream.tv. But before we move into any fan questions, we want to give some shout outs to people that are joining us on our YouTube chat tonight. Forever Johnny Boy, thanks again for tuning in. You're such a big fan and supporter. We appreciate it. And Baccarat80, thank you so much for tuning in to our after show. So let's get into some fan questions. Okay, so our first question is from Chow Macaroon. I love the name. What use do you think Father Gabriel will give to the group? What do you guys think?
Walker
Kegan?
bait.
Walker bait. So no use.
I just don't. He hasn't proven to
took
be
me, like,
particularly
10
useful
seconds to
yet.
He hasn't.
But I mean, as always ends up being with the show, they always pull something out of the hat. So we'll see. But as of right now, I've considered him to be a relatively useless
I
character.
have a good theory.
Okay, what's your theory?
I have a good theory.
I'm excited to hear
We've
it.
seen a reoccurring theme in these episodes that, in Bob's last words is, "Don't let it destroy who you are, your humanity, and who everything is." He's a priest, so maybe that he's going to be a key person in keeping their humanity together, the group's conscience, so to speak.
Because as we saw in last episode, humanity is gone because they are just slashing people up and killing them left and right. So maybe that could be a good theory, that he has that purpose just of keeping their humanity intact.
But then after that's done, he'll be walking.
But then it'll be Walker bait.
Yeah,
What do you
it
think, Glenna?
Most likely baby Jesus. That's pretty much all I can say about him because I don't know anything about him except for baby Jesus.
So you think he has no purpose?
Yep.
Or do you think he'll be the savior? Is that what you're saying?
No, I don't. I think, actually, now, okay, let me be serious now. I think that he will give something to the group that they'll really need at a certain point, and then he'll die.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We'll have to see.
But I think that there's just going to be something that he's going to help out, and then
he'll be done. Right. Maybe he'll sacrifice himself in some way.
I think that maybe that could be a turning point for the season.
Yeah.
In regards to him being kind of the ray of hope, I mean, losing him like you lose that last link to humanity, that could be a turning point for the group at some point during the season.
Yeah, but they don't really like him either, the group at this
Right.
point.
That's
So I don't
true.
think they would
Rick
care.
really doesn't. Yeah.
Unless,
All right. No, go ahead. What were you going to say?
I mean, unless they really find out what happened.
What his story
yeah,
is.
and then
right.
they'll be able to
there's
maybe
more to
start
his story
a clean
for sure.
slate. Yeah.
Well, let's move on to our next fan question. It's from @Targets1983. It's a good one. If Rick had found you and saved you from walkers and proceeded to ask you those 3 infamous questions, would you be scared of him instead of grateful? I would be scared because I'm more afraid of humans by watching the show than I am of the zombies.
Right.
Because
Totally.
as we were talking about their humanity, I would be a little afraid. Yeah.
I really don't think I'd have lasted that long. So, I mean, straight up, I don't know if I have the
don't have the fight in
constitution.
you?
I don't have the constitution for the post-Walker world.
No, I think I would be grateful because I think I would appreciate someone really. I think I would understand what he was doing, what he was trying to, get to, and I would. Hopefully, I wouldn't be crazy by that point.
Right.
I'd just be like, who was that woman that put the bag over her head or something? The long black hair.
Oh yeah,
She
she
had
had her
husband's
husband that
head.
she was a zombie still. Is that the when she lured Rick into
Yeah.
I remember
would be me.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember that. That was last season. That was crazy.
I'd hope it wouldn't be
Right.
me, but it might be me. Just saying. Just saying.
Did they ever say the relevance of those 3 questions? Like, why did he pick those 3 questions? I
Was
know
it
that.
I think those are the questions the governor asked. He didn't
I
get
thought
that
it
from the
was
governor.
because of his rule that once you kill, you're kind of fair game to be killed. Once you kill another human, it's kind of like Rick says you can face the ultimate punishment for it. I thought. I could be
That
wrong.
makes sense.
very
But then if
good.
you hadn't killed anybody, then he thinks you're useless.
Yeah, no. It's kind of, that's
Kind
the
of like
catch-22.
So a good
Catch.
answer would be that you have killed someone, and an even better answer would be the reason.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
What were the 3
Save-
questions again? How many people
How many
have you
walkers?
killed? How many walkers have you killed?
How many
Why?
people have you killed? And
Why?
And why,
Right. Right.
Right.
So what would you do if you were asked those 3 questions?
see, I don't know. I would think if Rick found me, I would probably want to stay on my own, just because I think I'd probably do better that way. Especially with Rick's group, with their reputation, trouble finds them everywhere.
It does.
Yeah, but you wouldn't know that.
Yeah, okay,
True.
yeah, I wouldn't know that, but I don't know. I would answer yes. I'm ex-military. I'm a soldier that you're looking for. Blah blah. Blah. I can shoot a trigger. I can I can do everything. I'll be your Daryl number 2, just better looking.
All right.
See, I think, yes, trouble finds their group, but I also feel like because of everything they've been through, you couldn't be with a stronger group of people in that situation.
Right.
They're all really tough, and there is a sense of family there, even though they've gone crazy and lost their humanity. And he has accepted people, he accepted Sasha and Tyrese, eventually, even though he went crazy and was seeing Lori in the prison. I don't know if you remember that. He was hallucinating her. Remember all that? It was crazy. So, I don't know.
I think it also, you'd be able to tell, you'd be able to get the vibe off of them that they were good people.
Right.
And I would be weirded out if people were just like, hey, how are you? You know, I'd be like, I don't know what's going on with you guys. But they have a good vibe. They have a baby. They have Carl, who's a younger kid, and 2 lovers.
Who's growing up so quickly, Carl is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we have a live fan question from Forever Johnny Boy. This is a great question. Out of the characters that are still with us, which one do you think has had the most extensive evolution? I know, that's a good question. It's a great question. What do you think? I've heard them saying Carl.
I was going to
think-
say Carol.
I would agree with Carol
I
as
would
well.
agree with Carol too.
I think Carl's grown up so
Well,
much.
I think Tyrese has had a de-evolution.
Really?
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
He
Because
took
he
a
went
step-
from being that reliable guy that would get stuff
I agree
done,
with you.
and now he's kind of too scared or he won't do things. And I mean, Rick doesn't know. Nobody else knows that guy that showed up, he let live. Nobody knows that except for Tyrese.
Right. Well, at a certain point, it just has to be so exhausting, just killing just killing constantly people and zombies. So I feel like I might almost be where Tyrese is. You're tired of it, you know?
And notice the last person he killed was Bob, and that was out of sheer, because he loved Sasha,
Right.
his sister, and, it's out of mercy. It's I don't know, he's one of the few characters who I think still has a shred of his humanity left.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. Because and also I loved, we were talking about that he was the one that was with the kids when they left the prison. I think he was the perfect choice for that.
Perfect person, yeah.
But I think that's a really good point because he is kind of backtracking a little bit. But Carol, So let's talk about that a little bit. We think she's had the biggest growth and evolution.
She went from being the weakest, really letting people or, her husband.
Specifically her husband,
specifically her husband take advantage of her, she was just at the very bottom. She just cleaned clothes pretty much, and she went from that to pretty much being the savior at some point.
When do you think that happened? Because I feel like even after Sophia...
Off season. We didn't get to see it.
Right, because all of a sudden...
We just come back and she's all
tough.
She's teaching kids how to fight with knives.
Right.
And I'm like, when did you learn how to fight with a knife? I don't remember that.
You know what I
I
think? I think that because at the prison they started getting back on their feet, and there were a lot of people there, and I think she thought, okay, now is my chance. This could be something big. I'm gonna really get it together, and I'm gonna do my thing. I'm gonna step up. This is a new world. This is a new time. I think
you have to consider too. I mean, she's getting close to these little girls. She doesn't want to see what happened to Sophia happen to anyone else.
Absolutely.
So I think that's going to naturally make you step up a little bit and be like, I need to show these girls what needs to be done because I can't let that happen to anyone else.
Right.
She doesn't want anyone else to be that mom.
She doesn't want any other. I think maybe because she was a woman who was a victim, and she's specifically trying to teach the other young women not to be victims.
Not to be victims. Yep.
And how to take care of themselves.
She's making herself a role model in that sense.
Yeah,
great.
and the prison was really felt like a new start for all of them. I feel like so she was like, I'm sure she was thinking, this is my time.
Kind of transitioning off of that question, who do we think this season is going to have kind of a big character arc the way that Carol did last season? I want to see more from Michonne. I still feel like we don't know that much about her. I mean, we saw a little bit, I think it with her, was it her brothers?
It was like from some
flashbacks. Her boyfriend and her kid.
Her boyfriend, okay. And
her boyfriend and another guy.
And then her child. Yeah. And it was a little flashback, and we knew that those were the zombies she was carrying with her, but I still feel like we don't know much about her. So I'd love to see if she has a different character, a character change throughout the season.
I know, I'm a little excited to see what's going on with Mullet Man Eugene and his big buff bodyguard friend, because they're so antsy to get to DC, but I don't think he knows what's going on. So I'm curious to see where that plays out. And
Agreed.
For all of them.
Nobody with a mullet can know how to fix the world. I'm sorry. Forgive me if there's anybody watching with a mullet.
So why do we
business
think
up
he
front,
says
party
that?
in the back.
And why do we think that, the army guy thinks that he knows? Do you think he just wants protection?
Wait, who, Eugene?
Yeah. Do we think he just wants protection?
Totally.
Is that the only reason?
I mean, obviously, when they were captured at Terminus, he was talking like he knew exactly what was going on, but just because he was saying all that stuff doesn't mean he actually knows how to fix it. But for sure, I mean, the look in his eyes.
Every time they call him out, he's got like that scared, confused look.
Yeah,
on his face.
he's like.
I mean, I think that's just his face look.
Absolutely.
But.
Well, we're going to have to wait to see what happens with Eugene because now they're on their way to Washington, D.C. But we want to give some Twitter shout-outs right now to @TWDFamilyY, @WalkingDeadTVF, and @WalkingDeadLife. Thank you so much for tweeting us. So since you guys are already tuning into us on YouTube, you want to go ahead and click subscribe to the stream.tvs, and you can watch all of the other after shows for some of your favorite TV shows. Thank you so much for tuning in, and make sure that you tweet us throughout the week with using the hashtag TWDAS. Tweet us your questions, comments, theories. We'd love to hear them, but we want to thank you so much for tuning in to our after show for The Walking Dead, and we will see you next week. Thanks so much, you guys.
Bye.